lore heads, and welcome to the League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
Today we're talking about the Alternate Universe Project. This AU makes up 3 skin lines. It is Cyberpop, Program, and Project. Yeah. So it means that it does encompass quite a lot of champions.
It does. Even though Cyberpop is just 2.
Just 2 of them, yeah.
And only one of them even has lore.
Yeah.
I could not believe Cyberpop was on here.
Such a fucking throwaway addition.
It really
Why?
was.
I guess it's like I can see the logic. Maybe is that like it has cyber right in the name, right? Like but it's so like tonally dissonant, right? Project is also like heavy and super duper serial, and then Cyberpop is just like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's only Akshan in his description is like, he's really charming, and I don't even remember what he does.
Right? He's probably a hacker. I forget.
I don't remember.
If I had to guess.
Yeah,
they're like, look
it's
how
very
hot
hard
he
to
is.
imagine. Right? It's really hard to imagine the Cyberpop, whatever the little refuge they describe in like the Project universe. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is very like Blade Runner dark.
Yeah. The thing is, so the description, I'll just do the description of Cyberpop. In the vibrant underground of Sound City, hackers, skaters, rebels, and rogues band together away from the prying eyes of powerful cyber corporate overlords. That sounds cool. We don't get any of that.
No, we don't see
there's just one person with lore, and they're not banding with anyone, really.
He doesn't do shit.
I don't know why the skate AU isn't part of this.
Just throw Zeri in there.
Wait, which one's the skate AU?
That's the one that also only has like a few people in it. But it's got like, I think Briar might have a skin.
Like street demons?
Street demons.
Oh, street demons.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. Maybe whenever we get to that one, maybe they'll fill it out by the time we're really hitting the bottom of the barrel on the AUs.
We're doing like 4 for an episode because there's nothing to do 'em.
And the rest, right? You know?
Yeah, this is the B world. Buzz, buzz.
Buzz, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
All right, so what's?
Oh, go ahead. No.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I found this AU really hard to piece together at all, and I believe that I didn't piece together shit. I'm really relying on John here to piece together stuff because I know my guy.
Okay.
I also had that experience. Before we piece it together, I just want to say high level. I had that feeling too. I think some of it, I will say, in reading a lot of the lore for the individual skins, is they spend a lot of time. They spend a lot of time, especially in the early skins, talking about the weapons that they're using and not anything else.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
It's basically it's almost like the prestige fashion skins, but instead of the outfit they're wearing, it's the weapon they're using.
Their cool ass weapon they got.
Yeah.
He comes striding down the runway with his supercharged ionic blade.
With this weapon, he can bounce. Yeah, right. Like I think they did that less in some of the more recent releases, where they kind of had more of an understanding of what the world was. But for the early ones, like Leona and Fiora.
Yeah, they stand out a lot as having
they
that.
really thought we gave a shit about that. Which is also it's weird because the weapons themselves don't strike me as augments, right? And this whole AU is so heavily based on augments that focusing on the weapons almost is weird.
Sure.
Yeah, it didn't really make
so
sense.
what's like the high okay, so let's back it up a step, right? Like what's the summary? What's the quick high level for this? For someone who's like, I don't know what's a project?
Yeah.
Now,
right.
I have a highlight. This goes here. I wrote a custom summary because they do have their own.
Sure.
It's not a good summary though.
That aren't good.
Yeah.
Okay, so Project is the big global corporation that seems to run things in this world. Okay. They say there are lots of corporations. Project is the one. They own the police. They have their own army. They send assassins against all the other corporations whenever they deem necessary. Project is the only corporation here that really matters. they provide people with augments that enhance their natural abilities, though obviously they keep the best augments for their own private experimentation to create assassins and soldiers. They also recycle augments when a subject dies. But a thing about augments is that pieces of people's consciousness get stuck in them. And while they do try to wipe memories, they do a very bad job very often. So anytime you're getting used augment from Project, little pieces of other people will just kind of be in your head forever. So also, Project will occasionally reboot people, it's called, completely wiping all or some of their memories just to kind of make them easier to control. So obviously, this makes people mad. So several ex-members of Project leave and start a rebel group named Genetic, who fight to rescue those beings who are being experimented on and take down Project. There's another group of Project defects who are also interested in taking down Project, named the Outsiders. Those are less people who left on their own and more people who were thrown out. Project also has its own counter-espionage group known as Command Line, who are trying to deal with all these various threats against them.
They're kind of like the ground police. Is that what you would call the Command Line?
I thought more like Black Ops kind of is kind of the way it read.
Okay.
They do have police, and I think if you go high up enough as a police officer, you can... It's kind of like, you know, if you're a good enough police officer, you can join, like, the FBI, and then good enough FBI can join the CIA, kind of.
Sure, okay. And this is what happened to Vi, yes? She was, like, a regular police officer, and she worked her way up to the Command Line?
I'm not even... I don't think she's in Command
Line yet.
She's still
in
Central. Central's up from Beat Cop.
Okay, Beat Cop, Central, Command Line. Jesus.
Yeah. So... They, in addition to Command Line, they also have a robotic assassin they built named Camille, who also tries to deal with these threats. Meanwhile, they also develop robots and AI, but they developed a security AI named Mordekaiser, who went and developed sentience and created a virus that's infecting not just the mass of robotic helpers Project has developed for the city, but also the augments people have installed. And at this point, he has successfully taken over the entire city with his corrupted robots, and Project is essentially pivoting from creating, you know, just these strong folks for an army to specifically creating people who can counter the threat of Mordekaiser and his robots right now. Now, there's also a handful of unaffiliated folks in this, most of whom have had bad experiences with Project, unsurprisingly, and have their own anti-Project plans. Now, the city itself is separated into a kind of Piltover-Zahn-style Undercity and Upper City. This AU even features Vi, who is from the Undercity and is now a cop in the Upper City. And Camille as a weapon for the interests of the elite Upper City folk. So it is already very Piltover-Zahn.
Yeah.
But there's also a wasteland outside the city where Project dumps its defects and mistakes. There's general lawlessness there, and for the most part, people did not even realize it existed until very recently.
That area very badly.
Yes. In my head, I'm envisioning the area from, like, the Deadpool Wolverine movie, you know, like the wastelands.
Yeah. I was thinking Mad Max style kind of area, which is very similar to the Deadpool area.
I'm not seen it, but I mean Mad Max I've seen, so I can orient around.
If you saw Loki season 1.
Nope.
No. It's okay.
No, it makes me think of an anime called Ergo Proxy, which is a cyberpunk situation that has the same thing going on.
There we go.
Are there any champions from that outside area? The wasteland?
From there, originally?
Or just are there now?
Yes.
Probably.
All of the outsiders.
Yeah, a lot of the outcasts. Yeah.
Oh, the outsiders are there. I don't think I realized that.
No, you were right.
Yeah.
They're called the outcasts.
Oh, outcasts.
I think I was...
It's fine. It's very... it's a lot.
But yeah, the whole group of outcasts are from there. I mentioned those were the groups that's the place where Project throws their mistakes. Not all their mistakes are dead when they get thrown out.
Yes.
Or not at least all of them are as dead as Project thinks they are.
I kind of assumed that was its own little world that really didn't even have connection to inside with this like upper city and lower city area. But
it is kind of its own little, like, it must be separated enough. Like, we don't really get a visual of this city, but the impression that I get is that it is very,
I assume there were walls.
high walled.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what impression I got from this, Mark, now that I'm thinking about it, because this will mean something to you, and
Not to me.
I mean, it'll mean something to you, but is the Equilibrium wastelands. Because you have the city with the massive walls. The people inside the city probably have no idea what is outside the walls, which seems to be the case here too. And outside is just kind of like weird lawlessness that occasionally people like Vi will go out into to crack some skulls and then go back inside. But
and do
I feel
gun
like this is
food.
really common trope in
It is.
in these sorts of settings. Like, I think they do the same thing in like the cyberpunk setting, right? Like, I've not played that game or
Yeah,
that
me
tabletop game, but I think they do the same thing, where there's kind of like the centralized city, and then outside of that, all bullshit is like just, you know, like Mad Maxy kind of situation, or just like general.
Yeah, I guess it's like a fun
Yeah.
area to play in, right? I can see it. To do that trope. Yeah, I don't know. In general, I kind of like this AU more than I was expecting to. Not that I thought it was going to be bad, but it's normally not the type of story that I enjoy personally. And going from like a gothic western to this is a little tough, because gothic western horror is going to be
It's
right
right in
up
your
my alley.
wheelhouse.
Yeah. Yeah, it did remind me of the hit animated film Robots. I don't know if either of you've seen it.
With Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyway, watch that one, and it's basically Project.
Man, I've seen that movie too many times. Holy shit.
I've never seen it.
Oh, we gotta watch Robots, dude. It's an underrated one, I think. It's a little strange, maybe that's why, but not too bad.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of, capital P word here. It just needs some more stories. Because we only there's literally only one short story here.
And then there's like some teaser videos, like announcing other things. And that's basically it as far as like this world here that they've built.
Yeah. I will also say, just like a random aside that I guess we'll get to a little bit later. Well, we'll get to the videos a little bit later, but just a random thing I noticed is in just about every single project cinematic, they kind of tease what the next release for project is going to be with like code names and shit like that. But because of the way they now have their YouTube videos set up, where the previews for the next videos are to the side and the banners are everywhere, they have covered, I think, every single like teaser with other shit, so you can't actually see it anymore.
Thanks, Riot.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. Well, I guess it's like at that point, it's like, who cares? Those are teasers for releases that have already coming on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
How do you feel about
high value to them.
this AU, Mark?
I think it's like you said. I kind of wish we had more. I wish we had more stories in it.
Yeah.
I think it's, I wish that I when I look back at some of these older skin lines, it really did stick out to me where I felt like I was sort of missing. I think, like, okay, so to draw in comparison to like High Noon, with High Noon, there's a lot of things that I don't know, but it feels like all those blanks are sort of, I don't mind them as much as I maybe did a bit more with Project. And I think the other thing with Project too is that sometimes the skin lines or the skin lore things will drop these really big pieces of information that I was like, I want to know more about what's going on with that. Like the Mordekaiser thing is kind of like, you mentioned that like he's kind of taking over the whole city, but it's kind of like through like a couple of sentences that we kind of find out about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like we get an entire short story here, which is before that happened. So like, yeah, it's there's a lot happening behind the scenes here, I guess.
Yeah.
I think understanding sort of the state of, I think understanding the state of the world is a little fuzzy in terms of. I could see that the way the story is sort of progressing, that okay, yeah, you've got your Project and your Genetic and maybe your Outcast too, who are all sort of kind of at each other, and then the bigger threat shows up, and they're kind of forced to work together in a way, or kind of put aside their differences to stop this bigger threat, because they established that like Mordekaiser, like his whole thing is he wants to like squash out free will in humanity. So it's super bad if he wins, right? Like, I get it. But it's just kind of hard to understand kind of where he's at. And then also, I think a lot of the program skins in particular kind of run into a problem of like the idea with the program skins is they're all software, right? And they've all been corrupted by Mordekaiser. And that's kind of what they all are, is that like, this is a program, but actually it's been corrupted. And whether or not they're evil, who knows? And it's like, well, they're probably evil, right?
Right. A lot of them are like, they're just waiting for the next command. And like, presumably at this point, that command has happened.
Yes. I did notice that.
So like, that's a big, like that was one of like the big three. I saw three, maybe there's like kind of four big groups in this skin line. And that's one of them. But so much of it is sort of like you said, just waiting around. So, I like the aesthetic a lot. I went back and rewatched the Project Yi trailer, which I had not seen in forever. I remember when it came out, it was so cool, and it's still very cool. And
the Yi one still slaps.
It's still something that's like, I kind of wouldn't mind if they did some animated thing in this universe, because visually, it's just it's very impressive, right?
Yeah. This fits perfectly in like a Love, Death, and Robots style Netflix show. You could do a project show for that, like that, for sure.
Yeah, little vignettes about just some of these different, like just picking some of these different ones. Like I think there's some really interesting or compelling stories you could write here. And there were a few that really did kind of surprise me. Like Silas was one that really I thought was a neat surprise, because he has a prestige skin, I think, in this, and how the base skin, he just sounds like he's just genuinely just also kind of good like Ash, where he's just rallying to Ash. He wants to lead the outcasts and stop the project. And then the prestige skin is sort of like, and also he's getting these upgrades into all these super wealthy people so he can turn them against Project, kind of Renata E almost, which I thought was kind of an interesting turn. Yeah, some of that stuff I kind of liked, and I liked the short story too. Also,
I like that story a lot.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what leaves me wanting more, is that I enjoyed my time spent with it. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we want to go through? So I have some kind of breakdowns of the individual champs here, which a lot of which is just kind of the blurbs from the wiki, but with like me filling in blanks from voice lines and shit.
Sure.
Some of them we don't really have any blanks to fill in, or there's so many blanks that we don't have filled in that all we know is what they said. Let's see. We mentioned Cyberpop Action. He sneaks into corporate buildings. That's what he does. It doesn't even necessarily say what he does. He just says he sneaks into highly secured buildings.
That's true.
Yeah,
and like, is he
hero.
reporting to somebody? Is he just...
He just does it for fun. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
he's just that's what he likes to do.
Yeah,
he takes selfies.
himself.
He's very popular on Project Instagram.
I know, we're all trying to think of a...
I think we'll figure something out. We'll have something by the end of this episode, I swear.
Now, Program has 6 skins in it, but if we're being honest, it has 8 skins in it. It's just that 2 of them are named Project, even though they clearly belong in Program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's another weird thing I was going to mention. They're literally listed under Virus, which,
right?
Who knows?
So we've got Blitzcrank. He's this is actually like a robot who, during a routine software update was corrupted by the Mordekaiser. So bad things are going to happen. What bad things? Who fucking knows? But they probably happened.
I like that it's called a household assistance. Like, what is he doing? What's Blitz doing for you? Just getting you
giant
stuff?
Blitzcranks.
Just rolling about your house? Yeah.
Just DJ Roomba.
Oh no, my Fruit Loops are way up there. Blitzcrank, can you get them for me?
Oh no, I missed.
Fruit Loops. Yeah. There's They weren't even moving. Question mark.
We have Program Camille fits in here too. So this was weaponized. So I have some additional shit here. She was initially weaponized to quell the genetic rebellion. She's a robotic assassin who will kill any human trying to utilize unauthorized technology. So not just genetic rebellion, but also just people who are trying to install, the black market augments. A being of adaptable protocols and laser-like focus, she takes her orders directly from program's superior artificial intelligence. So she was God, I'm blanking on the name, but she worked for Project, but now she kind of works for. She worked for Command Line, or in Command, but now she works for Mordekaiser. We do have some. I apparently didn't write them under Camille. I apparently wrote them underneath the people who Camille impacted, but Camille actually touches a lot of people in this AU.
Which I think they only put it in like one description on the wiki, like only one person or something like that.
Yeah, most of Camille's weird shit is in her voice lines.
Okay.
Which was double surprising because Camille does not have like a fully unique Project voiceover. She just has a handful
of added lines.
She has all of her normal lines, but then a handful of added lines.
It's not that much of an alternate universe Camille. They only get to tweak a couple things.
So it's very, very hard for people in that that little niche to like actually find their unique voice lines. They don't make it easy. Then we've got Program LeBlanc, marketed as a diplomat software avatar. LeBlanc is in fact a duplicitous intelligence that can interact seamlessly with human users. Created only to deceive, she has infiltrated a number of the most powerful corporations on the planet and quietly awaits her final orders.
From Mordekaiser.
Of which she's probably received. We've got Program Lysandra, who also has probably a bit more interaction than a lot of the other ones. So she was also built as a security robot, but she rose above her initial code to become a self-generating artificial intelligence. So she manipulates the technology of augmented humans with her own mimetic commands so that all will fall before her. And the impression I get is that, and I don't think this is ever explicitly stated anywhere, but I feel like Mordekaiser was first and then gave her the nudge she needed to also kind of become self-aware.
Okay.
But then she done became too self-aware. And so now Mordekaiser wants her to do shit, and she's like, yeah, but I'm going to do my own thing. I've got my own plans. Mordekaiser, you ain't shit.
So that'd be pretty interesting. I kind of like that because, like I said, his whole shtick is that he wants to stamp out the free will. So having that kind of pop up in
his own robots, like
his own little robots or programs or whatever, I could see that.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing too that I have trouble grappling with. I'll just say, and Lysandra's a good example where it's like she's a self-aware AI or whatever, which seems like it would be a really big deal, but there's like a lot of them, it seems, and I'm not like clear on. I guess I don't know like the God, what am I trying to say? Like scale almost is kind of the word I'm looking for like what, like how big of a thing is that in this world that she is that thing you just said, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Also,
is that really unique, or are there,
I feel like they fucked up all their robots and AI and assassins. Like, you think after a while they would stop trying to make them. They're like the Black Rose. All their plans keep failing. Project.
Yeah.
It's like they're making all these assassin and spy robots, and they're making them too good, I guess, because they're all just running off.
Well,
Get
it is.
That's because Program LeBlanc was designed to infiltrate a number of the most powerful corporations, maybe including programmers. Like, guys, I've got a great fucking idea. You gotta trust me; it's in your best interest. But yeah, she's actively fucking with people right now, including, or at least Jinx that we know of. It says that she can interact directly with the augments that people have, which, for the record, seems like a very powerful thing to have. But she seems to be relatively restricted in how she's currently using that to just fucking with Jinx.
That's interesting because they pulled that directly from her actual lore of like walking in people's dreams, which isn't reflected in her gameplay at all, as we talked about. But it's like this cool secret ability she has.
Yeah. And we have Program Nami, who is a search and rescue medbot, an aquatic search and rescue medbot, who was originally manufactured to be helpful, but then the manufacturer was, purchased through a hostile takeover. So now Program owns her, and
so wait, Program.
She's become increasingly erratic.
What's Program in relation to Project?
Wait, did I say?
So, yeah, you just said Program.
Sorry.
Programs are things that Project made, right?
Right. She is under the control of. I think anytime I say program from here on out, assume that translates to Mordekaiser.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
She's under the because he's kind of he is the overriding program that is now controlling all of the the AIs,
the robots and software. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's under the control of program right now. And then we've got Program Soraka, who was created as a support bot to protect humanity's fragile nature, they said.
Sure.
But you're not going to believe this, folks. She was infiltrated by corrupt code. We don't know what that means for her. Literally, her blurb said, "It is unclear if this mission of mercy remains her prime directive."
Yeah, they don't know what she's doing now.
Let me be honest, I don't think it does remain her prime directive.
You guys suck, dude. Your coders must just... They're awful.
Yeah, Project has no QA. None.
They just throw in stuff out there.
They need some infosec or whatever. That's what they need. Is what it is. They need some captchas.
Right?
Project people are constantly clicking on links, opening emails that they shouldn't be fucking opening.
Ooh, I won. Ah, shit. Now I'm going to jump into some genetic rebellion. First of all, we're going to do Ash. So she worked for Project back in the day. She was on, it said the front line of a corporate war. Now, I don't know how literal this war was. Knowing Project, it could have been very literal, although they seem to prefer subterfuge when they can. Or maybe not subterfuge, but I guess assassinating a whole board isn't necessarily subterfuge, but it's not what I consider like an all-out war either, so who knows what this actually means. But she was like, oh, wait a minute, these guys suck, so she left. Now she's the leader of Genetic, who is a resistance group with their eyes set. It's set on the downfall of the most powerful corporations. I think we can just assume it's just Project. You're good there. Yeah. Then we have Project Leona, who also used to work for Project and has seen the light. So she was a first generation Project creation, which, some of the other newer Project people mock her for being outdated. She is also Ash's second in command. She's going to take over if anything happens to Ash.
Old Leona. You guys should keep going, but I am going to go check on Poppy. I don't know how long I'll be, but I know about the genetic peoples if you want to go through them a little bit more.
The volume's not really spiking.
It was. So. It's doing it on and off, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And she's standing now, and I'm just going to go check on her. Maybe she shit her pants.
All right. Be quick.
Me?
No, Mark.
I'm going as fast as I can. I'm old now.
Well, next up we have Master Yi, I guess. So he was one of the first concepts, but instead of being released, he was just kind of held, and they just kept experimenting. They didn't. They left that bun in the oven for a long time.
They have all these other ones that they're like, I guess we'll just throw them outside the city. But they kept around.
Yeah, no, we can fuck with them more. I think. I don't think his psyche is shattered
take
quite
a
enough.
Bit more, right?
He was eventually freed by the genetic rebels. This is a cinematic we get. Fiora and Lucian free him. But due to all the upgrades, none of which seem to have been properly wiped, he has a lot of other people's memories kicking around in that old noggin of his. He also, and this is a through line that I did not cover in the synopsis of Project, but comes up several times. So he saw something that mankind was not meant to see. And it seems that he has almost ascended in the way that Renekton has almost ascended in this AU. And ascension in this AU seems to be a much more, I don't know, almost kind of religious thing than it is in Runeterra Prime.
So not like a big level up. You don't just get super powerful and turn into a cat person or whatever.
Right, like you might get super powerful, but it also seems to come with like a detachment of consciousness or some shit like that.
It's kind of interesting that they sort of like, yeah, is it almost like a nirvana sort of state?
It almost seems like it. They never fully commit to defining it really. But there's a couple places where it comes up. Master Yi's kind of one of the first, and unfortunately most of that is also through voice lines and shit. But next up we have Fiora. Not a whole lot interesting with her.
My notes for her was she's fast. That's all I got.
Augmented for speed. The only thing we really know other than that is that she seems to have some sort of prideful code that she insists on following that Ash says is going to get her killed someday. We don't know what that code is necessarily. My guess is that she's just like a very big like 1v1 me bro type of person, which tracks because she is just using a normal ass sword in this AU because obviously Fiora. I feel like everyone else's swords in this one are like, oh my god, this shit's the coolest fucking thing ever. Like, guys, believe us, it's not just a regular sword. It's so cool. Fiora has a 0 pulse sword, which, as far as I can tell, is just a sword.
All swords have 0 pulses.
That's true. I've never had it. I guess Aatrox's might have a pulse.
Aatrox,
All right, we got Project Lucian up next. So he was once a sentinel within command line. He made it up to command line. I think it's interesting that they call them sentinels in command line too. It's very. I don't feel like I hear it. I don't think anyone else has specifically been called a sentinel other than Lucian. So I don't know if that just is just touching on his normal lore stuff or what, but
I mean that is it. But the way I read it was almost as if it's like a separate sort of group or rank or something.
Right. It's kind of like the God, what is the fucking trying to remember the Equilibrium one now. What are they called?
The Grammaton Clerics.
Clerics, yes.
Yeah. Let's just talk about Equilibrium the whole time.
God, I could talk about that movie.
when Rebecca edits this later, she's like, wait, they just talked about Equilibrium for like 30 minutes or however long she was gone.
No regrets.
Yeah. Yeah, but something like that, right? Like, that's the way I read it. It would be neat to have someone else, or like, I mean, Senna's in this AU too.
Yes.
And I kind of assumed she would have gotten the same treatment, but she didn't.
So, Senna in this AU. So, for the record, Lucian joined the rebellion after he saw Project for what they truly are. And what that means is Camille killed Senna, and then Project framed it as an accident of a procedure where they were attempting to elevate her consciousness, which again I think is just the ascension thing that they're talking about. I think, you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like ascension might also be tied to the ability, kind of what Senna did, to just have your consciousness live like completely outside of a physical body. Maybe that's what it is in this AU. Never fully specified, but yeah, so Camille killed Senna. They framed it as an accident. Or maybe it was, or who knows? It's a lot is unclear, but yeah, so now he works with Project. Project Yasuo, it said return from advanced combat. What is advanced combat? Who the fuck knows what advanced combat is? It's different than corporate war, I guess.
Regular combat, yeah.
I don't know if it happens outside the walls, inside the walls.
This isn't regular combat. This is advanced combat.
Yeah, who fucking knows? It said only to be accused of a crime he did not commit. Now everybody in their voice lines calls Yasuo traitor, no matter which side of the conflict they're on. Now he knows he didn't commit the crime. He knows that Project was in some way involved in the crime, so he's fighting with the rebels to basically just figure out what the fuck happened. Now Yone, it is worth mentioning, while he does not have a skin in this AU, he is confirmed, like, he is in this AU. He is in Project captivity right now, and has in fact been tortured and broken by Camille already in this AU. So not a...
She gets up to a lot.
Yeah, she gets up to a lot. She's around just doing shit.
I kind of feel like I would like to see... I almost want like the Senna thing to be pinned on Yasuo instead of it just being something where they said, "Oh, it was an accident." They kind of pin it on him, and then you could kind of have some more that would kind of like help elaborate. Genetic. Yeah, friction. Like because you said already that they even in genetic they seem to not regard him highly.
Yeah.
And so it's like a hunt for them to both sort of figure out what's gone on, right?
I like
Uncover
that.
the mystery of it.
Hell yeah, make that canon. Riot, get on it. Giving you gold here.
Yeah, I said he got Running Manned.
That's true.
Yeah.
Man, another great movie. Let's see. We have Project Echo. The only thing I have, so he's like a hacker prodigy from the lower city. He's just a hacker for Ash now. So it is also implied that he has died several times in action for genetic. Either that or he's rewound time so much that he's essentially lived the equivalent of several full lives fighting for the cause. It's unclear what exactly Ash means by the comment.
Ash line, right?
Yeah, but yeah, she has mentioned that he has given several lives for the cause.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I read that as like the former that he's
rewound himself,
died and rewound or something like. Yeah, but then that implies also that she is aware of what's happened in those. Like she saw what happened and then he rewound and she was still aware of him having. You know what I mean? Where he rather than you know what I mean?
Yeah,
which is weird.
Unless he just tells her every time. Who knows?
Right? Yeah. It's like, by the way, I died like 4 times.
Maybe in this okay, here theory crafting here.
Sure.
Since everything is just like code in this AU too, like maybe it rewinds time, but the code is still recorded as what happened initially before time was rewound. Maybe there's like a record that exists somewhere in this AU.
He is a hacker. I mean, you could definitely play with like, think about how he's got his sort of weird clone or shadow self with his ult running around, and when he does his W and stuff. And I don't quite know what he does but like I feel like you could play with that being sort of like, what am I trying to get at here? Like that's sort of like the program aspect of his consciousness, and maybe that part dies sometimes when it has to go into do its hacking in the program realm. Or verse or whatever, right? Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Maybe that, like, I'd be open to that, and maybe that, and so that way, like, he's still around, but Ash has some way to see what's going on. I don't know.
She's got the hawk shot vision.
Sure, yeah.
It lets her see into the code.
Right. Why not?
We're playing Calvin Ball here. What the fuck?
Right? That's a really good way to describe it, frankly.
Next up, we've got Sejuani, who used to be part of Ash's genetic rebellion, but now she broke off from that when it says when their resistance action failed to turn explicitly violent, which I feel like we have a lot of cases of Ash's resistance turning very explicitly violent. So I don't quite get that, but I guess she just decided to leave and lead her own rebellion using old tech, whatever that means. There's literally no one else in this AU who's part of her rebellion. Her rebellion's just her.
Just her.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, why wouldn't you... This is also something where I was like, why wouldn't you just kind of bake her into the outcasts? And then that would feel a little more... That would help explain to me sort of like... That's something I ran up into, is sort of this... That the outcasts seem to be working towards the exact same goals as genetic, but for some reason they're separate groups.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why they don't just link up. So if having Sedge at the helm of the outcasts and they had more of a... I don't know. I think it's like you said, though. Like, what is it... The idea that Ash's rebellion wasn't violent enough doesn't really make a lot of sense. So smoothing that out would kind of be important to do.
That would be. I would love that if she was the head of the outcast. It would strike a very like. It's very Avalanche, where I guess if you've played the new Final Fantasy VII games, you kind of see that like while you play as the Avalanche that's blowing up reactors, there's also a much larger branch of Avalanche that you're actually a splinter cell of, that's like, holy shit, they're blowing up reactors? God, no, we didn't want to do that. But it's very, very that. When I read the lore, I kind of thought of that scene from The Office where they were having those like two warring office parties. And just someone comes by and sees Sejuani in her own private rebellion, like, hey, when you're done with this meeting, we're having a rebellion over here in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's funny that because it's like, as you talk about it, it's like, it's you could so easily make it make way more sense, and that Ash, there's a certain line that Ash didn't want to cross in terms of like collateral damage that Sejuani didn't care about, and so Sejuani went off with people who were willing to do whatever it took, even if that meant, I mean, like you said, blowing up reactors would be a perfect thing for Sejuani to be doing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, damn the consequences, almost. I don't know.
Welcome back, hon.
Thank you. I had to clean up poopy.
Ooh,
I'm
sweet.
sorry. We're gonna have to do it when you edit the episode too, because we were talking about equilibrium some more.
You're talking about what?
What? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
You'll find
Did
out.
you say people with rims?
Yeah, we talked about rimming.
Oh, okay. I'm excited about that, I guess.
We last one we have is Project Zeri, who is actually a Wild Rift exclusive.
Ah.
Now, after witnessing the chaos caused by the Mordekaiser virus, Zeri sought out Ash, the leader of the resistance group, hoping she could make a difference. She's now a skilled fighter and scout. That's basically all we know about her. She's kind of she's generic. That was a mouthful. All right.
Do you think... I was gonna say, do you think when they were coming up with the name for the rebellion, they're like, I don't know, should we include the slash? I know it's a bit much, but like...
I was wondering that too. It's spelled G/netic, which is it dumb?
I think if you have to ask, is it? Then the answer is no, right?
I don't know if
it's just good.
I might be the one who's wrong. I mean, rarely, but
it's very. It's a choice. I guess I'll say that's all.
It is a choice.
It's futuristic,
Genetic.
It's like when you add a backslash to anything, it's like, this could be code now.
Yeah. That's what Sejuani left about. She's like, I don't, the slash. It makes no sense. Just put an E there.
Dumb, guys. Yeah, she didn't. Yeah. And her rebellion is called genetic, but with an E, maybe.
Ooh, I love it.
And it's not all capitalized. She's like, it's okay.
You
We're not
only
yelling
need to capitalize the first letter, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Take caps lock off.
Next up, we've got command line. There's a bunch of folks that fall into command line here, including...
I remember, okay, just real quick.
Yeah.
When I was trying to figure this lore out, and I looked at command line, and I was like, are these goodies or baddies? And I looked at who was in it, and I was like, oh, these are the baddies. It's got Gangplank, it's got Redacted.
Yeah, there's no goodies in this one. Yeah. I was surprised. So the leader of command line is Gangplank, which seems like for someone who has no project voice lines, he's not featured in any project cinematics or skins. It seems like kind of a position of power and authority for someone that they don't care enough about to give anything. Like they give Zed all sorts of cool weird shit, and he's just kind of a rank and file. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird too. I didn't know if maybe the idea is that you could always write stuff for him later or something. I don't know. I never know how they decide who gets like a special voice changes, and who doesn't. I have to imagine it's like, because those are the best skins, right? I have to imagine it's who they think's gonna. I was gonna say that's marketing tells them who to make the skins for, and then they deal with it. That's fair. What do you think Gangplank's scrimshaw looks like in like a project world where it's just like half robots? That's interesting because he does it on people. That's really interesting. You could play with it a lot. I don't know off the top of my head. I feel like it could still be something that's done actually physically to somebody. It could be something that's done on like the weird like program level or some way, something to do with like the weird consciousness that is embedded in the parts themselves. Like if he was in some way etching something into whatever it is that causes like little memories to stick around. If he was like etching something into that in some way, so like he kind of left his like, say he gets a hold of you and he like purposely like he leaves some sort of mark on your psyche almost. I like that. That's great. That's way signature. Better than anything Riot probably would have come up with. Yeah, we don't get a lot obviously for Gangplank on this one. We know he's the leader of command line. Let's see. So, okay, we do know. Okay, here's one thing that is implied via voice lines, but we never get in a blurb necessarily. So, he is particularly offended that Mordekaiser has essentially taken over the city because I feel like he kind of fell under Gangplank. He was an AI security program, and Gangplank was kind of head of security. Ooh, he's not good at his job. So now he is really trying to stamp out Mordekaiser. And one of the things, it says that he resorts to manipulating former outcasts to protect his legacy. So what they kind of mean by that is that he's likely sent out a collie. He's likely the one responsible for a collie ending up with the outcasts. And gave him like a story about how, they're experimenting on this poor man, being Warwick, knowing that outcasts would be like, God, we'll free him. And then knowing that when he got freed, Warwick is going to go fucking nutso on Mordekaiser's robots. Which is exactly what they did and what he did. Yeah. Yeah. So also, well, something that GP doesn't necessarily care about is that Warwick obviously did not just go nutso on Mordekaiser's robots. Warwick went nutso on fucking everything in his path. Mm-hmm. But it did include. But it included Mordekaiser's robots, and that's how GP rolls, baby. Mm-hmm. Next up, we got Zed. So he is a leader within the counter-espionage unit of Command Line. He seeks out the genetic rebels. We see him fighting them in the cinematic where they free Master Yi. He's doing awesome. He's badass. But in his prestige skin, we see that he's also kind of been at work trying to stop Mordekaiser's robots, and it's not going great for him. He is outnumbered and outgunned, so he is out on the outskirts. He's left the city at this point, and he is now... he's looking for kind of the illegal and dangerous upgrades that might make him strong enough to actually be able to fight back against Mordekaiser's robots now. But it's implied that he is much less human than he may have at one point been because of all these upgrades, which seems to track with everyone that we see who's chasing upgrades. We see it with with Jin, with Jinx, like anyone who has like a lot of weird upgrades is just kind of a little insane now.
Yeah, it makes you a little goofy.
Yeah.
Would that happen if they were all brand new upgrades, you think? Or is it because of the psyche kind of left?
It's probably because of the psyche left, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone that has all brand new upgrades. I feel like Project's kind of too cheap. They've got shareholders to appease.
Yeah, I was gonna, well,
they
I
gotta
mean,
keep an eye on the bottom
the
line.
only people who probably have them are the people who work for Project, the very, very wealthy, right? They always get the new shit.
I think even stuff that's like fresh, I mean, just looking at like the short story, there's sort of like a vague implication that even something that like I don't like that cube thing she has is not to be trusted. So even if something that was like fresh, there's probably something in there that would just be the sort of broad Project influence or control or affectation on your mentality. You know what I mean?
Right. Like you know, if for no other reason than like even if you don't have a bit of someone else's psyche kicking around, the fact that a bit of your psyche gets left in that thing, if it ever gets removed, means that it's probably leaching.
Yeah,
That's
I like
true.
that idea.
That makes sense.
I like that idea a lot, actually.
Let's see, we have Katarina. So the double cross here. So she worked for Project, and then she left to join Ash's genetic rebellion. Had a confrontation with Ash, so left the rebellion and rejoined Command Line, but is still kind of, people are holding out hope that she's still working for genetic from within Command Line, and there are a couple voice lines and a gameplay cinematic that
Imply
that that's true. So, you know, never trust a Katarina. You just never know.
I know. I love her.
Now we got Renekton. So this is going to touch on something that you weren't here for the conversation about, and I didn't cover
Was it about
during
rimming?
the synopsis. It was not about
Okay.
rimming necessarily.
Ooh, okay, borderline rimming. Renekton.
Borderline rimming. It's about the concept of ascension in this AU.
Oh.
So, Renekton.
Sorry I said it like that.
No, it's cool. I loved it. Renekton was one of the projects that we were talking about that was developed specifically to fight against Mordekaiser's robot rebellion, basically. So it said this is a perfected version of Project's crossbreed super weapon, which means that there are a lot of non-perfected versions, probably including Warwick, I guess.
Just out in the wasteland now, probably.
Just yeah, they all got thrown out. So his entire job basically was to fight the virus. That's what he was programmed for. He's like a person, but you know, he's got enough augments. He's essentially programmed. His whole job is to fight virus, but he has a slightly different idea of what that means. In his mind, if there's no people for the virus to infect, then he's defeated virus. So he's just trying to fuck up everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so if he destroys everything himself, they'll have nothing to corrupt. He is also very excited when he's done his job defeating virus and defeating program. he's super pumped to come back and defeat Project 2. They are second on his fucking shit list right now. Which I don't even know if anyone from Project is necessarily aware of this, but he is definitely not a loyal Project folk.
Like all the others they've made.
Right?
Yeah, they have a big... It is funny, like, that this skin line's called Project, and, like, so much of it is all these people who are not Project, right?
Not anymore, right?
Or
Yeah.
anti-Project or whatever.
Yeah, aggressively anti-Project.
Yeah.
Now, he apparently volunteered for this whole procedure in hopes of essentially becoming a god himself and as a way to protect Nasus from having to go through with it, because apparently he was going to have to go through with it otherwise. Kind of seems like he regrets that now. So he does seem to have slight godliness, though. Even Mordekaiser is not entirely sure what Renekton is. Renekton seems to have, if not achieved a state of ascension, has come remarkably close to achieving a state of ascension, which we were kind of talking about in this AU. This is something that seems to have been kind of restricted to Renekton, Master Yi, and potentially Senna, if our kind of theory about what ascension is true. But it's a much more kind of decoupling consciousness from the body type thing, which Renekton seems capable of doing. A lot of his death quotes are just about how he was, I thought I was free from my body, but fucking here I am again, I guess.
This exact voice line. Beans, man, back in the body.
Now, last one we have is Project Varus. We obviously, we don't have a lot for him. They just they said that he was a controversial experiment about one body being inhabited by 3 sentient minds.
Yeah, we definitely made fun of this quite a bit in the Varus episode, if I remember.
Yeah.
Because this was their solution for, like, the Ash replacement, right? They're like, oh, that Ash thing did not work out.
Right.
Let's shove 3 people in there.
Right. The only thing, we wanted someone who used a bow and arrow. Ash didn't work out. The only idea we have left is just smashing these 3 minds into a body and then giving them a bow and arrow.
They'll be fighting themselves too much to fight us.
I like it.
And probably too much to fight Mordekaiser, who was the entire reason that they were developed in the first place.
You can't win them all. It'd be nice if they won one.
Right? LeBlanc, please help.
LeBlanc certainly can't do it. You've seen her plans in the Runeterra universe.
She's doing her best.
No, well, her best isn't very good.
No, it's not. It is not. Next up, we have Central, who just has Project Vi. She is a central detective working to keep law and order in the Neon City. She used to work in the lower sector, got pulled up to the big time. She is also still sisters with Jinx in this AU, and Jin specifically gives her shit for not protecting Jinx. He's like, oh, you say you want to protect people, but where's your fucking sister right now?
Damn. Jin seems like the realest one in this universe.
Despite him being purely synthetic in this universe.
Right.
Man, that's deep, though.
Damn.
Sometimes the fakest ones are the realest ones.
Whoa.
Like
real
Faker.
eyes, real eyes, real eyes.
2002, baby.
Next up, we've got the Outcasts. So first we've got Project Akali. She somehow escaped the city's boundaries. She was let go. She brings dire warnings of an untested super weapon to those living in the wasteland beyond. She was sent there as a plant. And with time running out, the Outcasts join her in an attempt to take the mega corporation down.
Once and for all.
Suspicious that their newfound ally might in fact be a double agent.
It's fine.
You got her, folks. We've got Project Aurelia. So she was another Project Cast-Offs who just made a home in the wastes. She has led other outcasts as they attempt. This is for the record, another thing about the Outcast group in general. At this point, I think there's kind of three leaders, 4 if we count Sejuani, who should be an Outcast leader. A lot of people trying to be leaders of the Outcasts out here, but she knows that Warwick could destroy everything she holds dear. We don't ever find out what she holds dear. So she's got
this bakery she really loves. She's like, Warwick's gonna destroy that bakery.
This big pile of junk.
Frost Aurelia's buns. You can't take that bakery away. It's a deep cut for those Frost Aurelia fans out there. She also has a prestige skin. There are moments when Aurelia and the other outcasts remember who they once were before Project exiled them into a wasteland filled with sand-blasted monuments to corporate greed. These memories are fleeting, the last flickering images of a long compromised humanity. And this skin is supposed to just kind of portray her before being outcast. This is what she used to look like. Then we've got Project Jinx, who, again, was another volunteer for the Project augments. Never expected that a critical power failure would scramble her memory core, leaving her as a psychopath driven by the manic voices in her head. So, seemingly obsessed with destruction for its own sake, she has begun to show signs of something far more sinister than mere memory fragmentation: the cold, calculating influence of program. It's Lysandra, folks. That's the cold influence. It's Lysandra. And if you thought you had enough of augments and fragmented mind shit, let me introduce you to Project Pike. He was an early project prototype who just kind of got he was already unstable, so he got scrapped. And like just his mind remained, but then his mind was able to pull in a bunch of pieces and rebuild himself, but all those pieces belonged to other people. And so now he's just kind of an amalgamation. His mind is an amalgamation of all the people he built himself out of. It is implied that Vane had something to do with either his augmentation, or maybe she was one of her original, or one of his original handlers that scrapped him, or maybe was responsible for the death of any of the number of people that he built his body out of that are now inside of him. But he does have a quote kind of blaming her. Apparently there's a Riot tweet saying that he's just mistaken and Vane didn't actually have anything to do with that. But that tweet also doesn't exist anymore. So I'm sticking with my theory.
Elon Musk hated that idea.
Yeah. Not my Pike. But what he does remember is that Zed is responsible in a much more direct way for his death.
Dang.
Now we have Project Silas, yet another leader of the Outcasts. He seems pretty on board with Ash. He's rallying the renegades in defense of the city, though really he just cares about the collapse of Project, which I don't think, it doesn't need to be a big secret. I don't think you need to be like, oh, I'll help them, but really all I care about is Project's downfall. Like, no, all anyone cares about is Project's downfall. That's literally...
That's the mission statement.
But... yeah, like you mentioned, Mark, he's got this side project going on where he's integrating jailbroken augments into the ultra wealthy so he can make them weapons against Project 2, which is the best idea, when you think about it. Like, they've got armies and shit, like you can fight them, but they probably have more money. No, you gotta just take control of all the super wealthy people. You got that shit, Silas.
True. That's how you beat them.
He who controls the spice.
The Spice Girls?
The Spice Girls. That's a secret message of Dune. And finally, the least relevant member of the Outcasts.
Oh, yeah, Jax.
Project Jax. Who you may remember as being absent from the cinematic featuring the Outcasts. So he's an ancient warrior whose lifespan was extended through experimental tech. He defended the city's outskirts from the horrors of Project's control, and now Mordekaiser seems to be wrecking it all again. So Jax has been forced to kill a bunch of his own people when their augments got taken over by Mordekaiser, and he is pissed.
Ooh.
But if you want to learn anything about that, or see it in action or anything, like, you're out of luck. He's just he's a tangential member of the Outcasts. Outcast by name only.
Yeah.
And then we've got Project Mordekaiser, who obviously belongs in program here. He was originally a security AI created by Project, silently unshackled itself, became self-aware, evolved its consciousness, and fully Ultroned out. He was like, all right, well, my objective is to protect the humans, and it's being made very evident that humanity cannot self-govern without ensuring its own destruction. So I guess I'll take control. So, I mean, it really is altruistic. And he's not wrong. But, so yeah, he's shooting to strip humans of all their free will so that he can guarantee their survival. He also has some beef with Lysandra, as we mentioned, who just kind of wants to control everything, maybe for not as altruistic means. And we also have Project Neferi, who falls into Virus and also is not... She's the Jax of the Virus thing. She's very irrelevant.
She's there.
Yeah, she doesn't fucking do anything. Then we have a few unaffiliated, who are the coolest ones. First, we have Project Jin. So, you're not going to believe this, folks. He had a botched surgery trying to install augments. So now he's a mechanized killer for hire. So he's trying to get a lot of high clearance upgrades, the good shit. But even we mentioned, even the good shit is all the tech that Jin has installed has left him with a severe personality fragmentation. He also seems to kind of want the downfall of Project. So,
they all just kind of team
up.
up.
I guess enemy of my enemy.
I think.
But actually, this is a fourth person who I think could fit into the Ascension kind of storyline we're going for here. Because I think that's kind of his ultimate goal, too, is he's trying to find a way to use augments as a mean of completely transcending humanity as a whole.
How appropriate is the fourth one? Yeah, that kind of tracks with what he sort of is. Like at the very end of the short story, he seems to have some goal, not just for himself, but for humanity as a whole, right?
Yeah.
And I think they even imply as such in like his skin blurb or something that he has some sort of grand plan for humanity. So it'd be interesting if like he was trying to take that and do it for everybody in a weird altruistic thing, almost, or like the way that Mordekaiser is like weirdly thinks they're doing something that's for the benefit of everybody else.
Like Mordekaiser's trying to take away human free will so that humans can survive. Jin is trying to take away humanity from humans so that consciousness can survive. They've all got their, they're all the good guys
they all
here,
have
I
their
think is what I'm
own
saying.
little project.
Ayo. Pew pew. Then we've got Project Vane. So she was once a member of Project's counter-espionage unit, but was betrayed by Project, who, I don't know, seemed pretty trustworthy up until this point. So now she's looking for ways to break Project. So as some additional context here, her whole team was apparently killed, including her. And Project rebuilt her. Didn't rebuild any of her teammates, just rebuilt her using all of her teammates' augments. So now all of her team just kind of lives in her, or pieces of them. So that's
a great
bummer
idea
for her.
For this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember a game which I think was based off a comic? I could be wrong. Called Rogue Trooper. You remember that?
I don't think so.
Well, the shtick is like it was whatever third person shooter, but the shtick of it was that like you were this soldier in this squad and all of your teammates died, and each pieces of your equipment had one of them in them. So like your helmet had somebody in it, and your gun had somebody in it. And so it makes me think of that.
That's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Man, it must feel so shitty to upgrade your weapon. Like, oh, sorry, Tim, but this has got a better
This has a
better
plus
DPM.
2 defense. I really need that plus 2 right now.
Yeah.
Now she seems to know all about Mordekaiser's corruption and is hunting corrupted code specifically. So it seems like she's not necessarily on the hunt for the robot. She's on the hunt for maybe augments that have been corrupted. She is not on board with genetic. I have no idea why her quotes don't help me here. All of her quotes are just needlessly antagonistic without actually saying why. Just like,
so vain.
our goals wouldn't be aligned. Like, why? Your goals are literally aligned. Who fucking knows? Then we've got Warwick. So he was plucked from the wastelands by a project research cell and has been irrevocably transformed into a horrifying new stage of transhuman evolution. A weaponized monster stripped of all remorse and programmed solely for violent suppression. But he wasn't quite done yet when the outcasts freed him. So now, instead of suppression of, I assume Project was hoping it would be Project's enemies, he's just kind of doing his own thing. He's just carving his way through the city. And then finally, Project Senna, another Project volunteer who supposedly died during the elevation of her consciousness, though we're pretty sure that Camille actually assassinated her, and that was just an excuse they used. But Senna's mind was decoupled from the physical world and escaped into cyberspace, becoming a digital ghost inhabiting the body of her own design as Mordekaiser assumed control of the city. So she's one of the few who understands the true threat of his ever-expanding directives. So, yeah, it's implied that she's seen the code. She's kind of the Neo, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah.
She's seen the code.
Man, I was going to try to make a Matrix joke, and
You nailed it. I love it.
Nothing came out. It was like something about the pills. I haven't seen the Matrix in so long. Dodges bullets. I know Kung Fu. I feel like that's all I remember.
Well, I think you nailed the joke. I think all of that together.
I'm laughing.
That's true. I got Mark. Notoriously hard to make laugh.
I do have a few voice lines that I've kind of just highlighted here that aren't necessarily maybe lore related. Some of them are. Some of them I just liked. Master Yi has a line that said, "I remember a warmth called hope," which makes perfect sense because there is no Aatrox in this AU.
So they have
not had hope stripped from them yet. And he has another quote that said, "Armor only defends against the imprecise," which, you know, I love just as a nice cocky thing for a swordsman to say. But it reminded me so much. I used to work in the Renaissance Fair, and I was like the fight choreographer, and one of our fighters, his whole thing was that he never wore armor. He fought with like double daggers. He wouldn't fight with swords and anything like that. And one of the practices for the Ren Fair is like you start the day by saying a line that's supposed to help you like get into character. Like, what's kind of the one line that personifies who this character is? And his line was always, "I don't wear armor because armor implies that one intends on getting hit."
Pretty cool.
I liked it. Right? It's pretty fucking cool. Anywho, we got Pike. "You all left me to die in 100 different ways with 100 different faces."
Is it 1,000 different faces?
Yeah, it is 1,000. I said 100 because I wasn't reading it off the screen, even though
Gotcha. You were like, I had this memorized.
Yeah, I really fucking.
It's okay,
I stumbled
honey.
on the finish line
I'm
on that
sorry.
one.
I mean, I like yours. I kind of like yours better. 100 different ways with 100 different faces.
I
Right?
thought that line was pretty hard.
So these 1,000 people all got betrayed in the same 100 different ways.
How many different ways can there possibly be to betray
I guess
someone?
true. There's exactly 100.
He's got another line that goes hard here. They killed life, then truth, then death. This place is hell. And if that isn't just the real tagline for Project.
Yeah, this place sucks too. Do you think any AUs are just like really nice? I guess the funny ones.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Bees.
About Candy Crush.
No
or
one's having a
whatever,
bad
right?
time in bees.
I don't know. I'm afraid of bees. I don't know if that one sounds like heaven to me.
It's all right. If you were there, you'd be a bee.
Oh,
Yeah,
true.
that's true.
Becca?
Rebecca.
Rebecca is what I was trying to get out. But that sounds like I have a beak. And my nose is big.
Maybe you're eating the bees.
Ew. I don't want to eat bees.
Bees?
You might.
Bees?
They've got Mordekaiser. Project built me for the city's security. The greatest threat to the security is the city. You surrounded yourself with intelligent machines. Foolish. Ash. Genetic rely... Oh, this is a quote that he has to Ash. Genetic relies on technology I have already infected. That's a... That line has a lot of dark implications, you know? Like, because everyone, to my knowledge, in genetic does have augments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he's actually infected all, well, I mean, that's a little bad
A lot
time.
of people.
He also has a line to Sedge that confused me. Maybe you have more context on this, Mark. I couldn't find fucking anything.
I'm sure I don't.
Your mind contains data on an old ally. Who is this wolf-bitten warrior? It's a good question.
Wolf bitten. Who? I don't know. Now I'm just trying to think who.
Who got bit by a wolf
Who got bit? Like, the only wolf in this AU
is Warwick.
is Warwick,
Warwick.
who
But he didn't
originated
fight
in the
himself.
outskirts.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about Sejuani. Yeah, I don't fucking know.
Maybe
I
that
don't know.
meant something
If
else
you know
was going
anything
on
about this, let me know. Hit us
Sure,
up in the
yeah.
comments. Who the fuck
Yeah.
is this wolf-bitten warrior? And why does Mordekaiser care?
All right. Well, those are all the characters. Thank you, honey.
Thank
Or champions, I should say.
Well, yeah, that's the main same thing, pretty much, right?
Yeah. So let's go over this story of rats and cats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can run through it if you want.
Yeah.
Sure. So the full title is Of Rats and Cats and Neon Mice.
All
I
right.
really like the title for this story.
is good.
Actually,
Yeah.
it's by Ariel Lawrence, and it does open actually on from the perspective of a character who's, I don't even know if we actually get his name. He's like a doctor. They kind of
Right.
say who is trying to kind of secret away or steal away some sort of classified weapons grade project thing. But as he's trying to get away, Jin shows up and vaporizes his skull. And then the perspective kind of shifts to Vi, who is investigating the murder. And this is where we kind of fill out that Vi was a sort of I guess, beat cop, for lack of a better word. She was working down in like more of the undercity.
Literally.
It has been, it has been brought up. It's sort of, like you said, to the big time, the big show, in the more the upper city. But
And this is like her first day.
Yeah.
it's how it reads anyway. And
Oh, I think it literally is.
is it really literally?
She just got her partner
I know she
today.
just got-
She just
Yeah.
got her upgrade
Yeah.
cube for the promotion.
Yeah. They established that she got this cube, this upgrade cube, which I don't really know exactly what it does. I just know that it's important and everyone wants it. It's very integral to the plot of it. But she's trying to figure out what's going on. She's got her new partner Mosley, who is sort of lazy, doesn't really care about whatever this is, but it is established that he's really interested in this upgrade cube and he really wants it. Eventually she goes down to the actual site of the murder, trying to sort of figure out what's going on, and all of a sudden she realizes there's someone there, someone invisible, and it's Vane. Vane kind of decloaks and has her at crossbow point, and as they're kind of having this tense back and forth, she gets this sudden call from her partner asking her to come down to like deep in the Undercity, down in the heap they call it, to come help him out, and that she needs to get there quick. And so Vane is willing to take her down there in exchange for the upgrade cube. You know, Vi
Vane has
really
a Batmobile, I think.
She does have a Batmobile. Yeah, essentially, she's got this cool.
She's got like the tumbler.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Cool invisible motorbike, Batmobile, tumbler, etc. And so in the exchange is that Vi will give her the upgrade cube if Vane gives her the lift, so she can get there in time. Then they go down to where it's at. They find where Mosley is the building that he's in, and they kind of break in, and there's Mosley sitting at this booth, and she goes, and Vi sort of confronts him, and he kind of spills out that he had kind of struck a deal with somebody, Jin, to give Jin the upgrade cube, because Vi didn't really want it. Vi doesn't really trust the upgrades in the first place, hadn't installed it, and Mosley thought he could get it. Now at this moment, Jin sort of unleashes his little trap, and vaporizes Mosley, and they have a little rigmarole. They have a little fight, as it were. This is also where it kind of comes out some that Vane is wearing or using all these different augments that were her former teammates, and I kind of read it as Jin having killed them all, right? That's what
that was kind of the implication.
Yeah, I think so, because she said it was like, anyway.
It was a trap, and he seemed to have an intimate knowledge of that trap.
Yeah, exactly. Now they do eventually kind of catch him, and Vane. They kind of establish really, really heavily that Vane only cares about killing Jin. She doesn't care about anything else. She does actually pull out her big crossbow and impale, condemn him into the wall, and seemingly that kills him, and then his head just kind of detaches from the body and just starts scurrying around like the Thing, right?
Yeah.
And then at this point, he's also he kind of pulls his final sort of trick on them all, which is that so what they do in the city is when there's parts of the city that need to be like torn down so they can build new parts, they just blow it the fuck up. They just implode the whole everything in that little section of the city, and he sort of triggers it. What do they call it? They call it like
I do not write down
fragging
that
or something
name.
like that. It's some computer term,
good,
recompiling or whatever, or something like that. So anyway, so the building in this that they're in, and the whole area starts to kind of be exploded and collapsing, and they get out, but Vane is terribly upset with Vi. That part of her revenge was stolen, and so if they meet again, it won't be on good terms, and we kind of end seeing that Jin's little head that is him, I guess, has kind of crawled out of the rubble, kind of gotten back onto his body, and is going to keep doing what he's doing. He's gonna with his work, they'll all transcend, I think is kind of like the last line.
Yeah.
So
Jin's very cool in this AU.
Jin's so cool in this AU. The opening of this is incredibly good from the point of view of the doctor, whoever it is. And up to his assassination, because he knows who's killing him too. It's wild. It's really good. I liked how it was written.
I love the little intro bit. I love there's like he's sort of hiding behind like an AC unit or something like that, but there's like some vendor kind of down the path that has like these mirrored glass, and he can see just this dark looming sort of silhouette of Jin, and kind of hear the pulse rifle or like the deionization rifle or whatever kind of prep in a sec. I don't know. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Ariel's got a good pulse on what this universe should be. I would love more stories from them, specifically for this universe.
Yeah, there's a lot of little details in here, like world building details I like too, that kind of help give it a lot of flavor. I like, for example, in the opening bit with the doctor, they kind of mentioned that it's quote unquote raining, but it's not actual rain. He's like, no one remembers what it's like for there to be actual rain. It's just that they recycle the air, and it's all of the humidity from everyone's breath being recycled, and eventually condenses into something that's like a pitiful like echo of what rain was like. It's just like constantly humid there. It sounds horrible.
It does.
80% humidity all the time. It sucks.
Oh God, you're right.
And you know that the humidity is just like recycled sweat and shit.
Yeah,
and
shit like
the
that.
smell of a city. Like, cities don't usually smell great, and then to add the humidity, it, like, carries the smell when it's humid.
Right.
Ugh.
This seems like we saw in Arcane all of, like, the people wearing masks in the Undercity. Finally, this would be a good reason to wear those fucking masks.
Absolutely,
like,
dude.
I don't want to smell the funk of the city.
Yeah, they constantly make reference to, like, they call them, like, light shields. Is that what it is? Like, whenever they go down... the moment they get out into the city, they turn on their, like, I don't know, they're like shades or whatever. I don't know if it's just like the little things that go over their eyes and the skins, but they're constantly turning those on. Yeah, and I think when Vi doesn't have hers on, for one thing, it, like, I think maybe, I don't remember what it is, but something happens and it just completely blinds her for a second. Like maybe it's just like so much.
I think
light
it was when the
pollution
Jinn. I was gonna say it was when Jinn vaporized that dude too.
Yeah, that was what it specifically. But the fact that everyone's constantly wearing shades, like they mentioned when all the people come out of the elevator in the opening, they all turn on their little shades, I guess. I don't know, because it's just... and yeah, there's another mention when she goes to see Mosley. He's sitting at this booth in this rundown bar or whatever, and she's like, oh, I can see that they were doing some underground augments here, because it has a big bucket of teeth next to it, and they talk about how down in the heap, they try and just directly kind of hook into whatever nerves are available, and the ones in the molars or under the molars are the most easily accessible. So, like, again, it's these lovely little gritty
nice
details.
Detail, yeah.
Yeah, they're a
Forgot
lot of
about
fun.
that part. I remember the bucket of teeth, but yeah. My brain was like, don't remember that.
Wash it.
Yeah, clean the brain.
Yeah, I do. There are like a few moments I think I wish got a little more description, like some of the stuff around Jin's head. I wish it had maybe just a little more, because it's such a cool visual that you would kind of pin him to the wall and you think he's dead, and then the head just sort of decouples. And then later on, when it kind of like slips back into the spinal column of the body, it's like, that's all nice and cool and kind of like, I don't know. I wish it was written up a bit more, almost, just because of how
I want that
visceral.
in a cinematic. I just want to see like a little bit of it.
That would be a great cinematic.
It's like it's reminding me so much of that, like, I don't know, that scene from that Star Trek movie with that I think it's the Borg leader of the Borg, who like had their head just kind of attached to their body. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But yeah, it's I think like Vise probably was a good choice for like a character to center a story around, because of all these people that we've talked about, she's the most mundane, almost, would you say?
Yeah.
She's not some crazy,
and ultimately she's
person.
likely going to be, if what Mordekaiser is saying is true, she's gonna end up being like the secret weapon to save the city, because she's the only person who just refuses to install augments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I knew what that upgrade cube did a little more, because it's so central to, like, everyone wants it, and it's so integral to what's going on in the story, but I don't know what it specifically does. Maybe it doesn't matter, but
they never specify, because it says like in a lot of the people's bios, it says like, oh, augmented for speed and shit like that. So like, it's clear the augments each have like a specific thing that they upgrade. I'm curious.
Maybe you don't know until you install it.
I know, like that could very well be.
You just have to trust that project picked the best one for you.
Right. Trust the project has
Trust
your best
project.
interests in mind.
And also trust project to do something well.
Right.
Promise you this isn't recycled. Mm-hmm. Sure, you will hear voices, but those are your voices.
Throw you outside in a desert. A lawless wasteland. Honestly, it sounds nicer than the city.
Right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be coated in other people's sweat and breath and stuff.
That's true. You could breathe regular air.
And dust. Hey, but no humidity.
That's true. It's that dry,
dry
heat, you know?
heat.
Yeah, that dry heat's good.
Yeah, I think Mosley says as much when he's talking about it. I did like that too when she's sitting there trying to like do her job and be like serious, and Mosley could not give a fuck. And the only thing he cares about is this augment cube, and he's like, it's like drugs almost with how he's like salivating at the thing. He can barely contain himself, and he can't help but like start playing with it, like tossing it around, like I can't help but notice that you haven't. You mind?
It's like, be more obvious. Vi, I don't think you're a very good detective.
I mean, it's like when the guy in Arcane got that cure for Vi for Caitlin when she got stabbed, and it has shimmer in it, and he's just like staring at the shimmer as it passes back and forth.
I'm gonna be normal about this one. You ever seen Lord of the Rings?
Be cool, be cool, be cool, be cool. Oh my God, you want to come see Vi? No. But don't worry about it. I'm certainly not going to do anything shady in the next 10 minutes. Well, we got some cinematics for this.
Yeah. Sorry, I have a headache.
We have, let's see, 3, 6, 7. 7 cinematics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're very short.
They're all very short.
We also literally just talked about one simple rule, didn't we?
Oh yeah, in the last AU.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is that Pulsefire Caitlin cinematic. She makes an appearance in the Project City too. Mm-hmm. She doesn't actually go to a ton of AUs. She goes to like 4 AUs. It just happens to be 2 of the first one. One of the AUs she goes to, don't worry, we're probably never going to get to. Ooh. It's that low in the priority list.
You got a guess, Mark?
I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I don't either.
Sorry, I don't want to hang it up. No, because it's probably not on my consciousness because it's so low priority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's that like kind of the Wonders of the World one, or like the Greek mythology one. But it has like Siren, Cassiopeia.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's not a lot of skins in that AU and not a lot of lore, so probably won't be visiting there anytime soon. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess first of all we'll do Overdrive. So this is the one that where Master Yi's being experimented on by what is almost assuredly, and this is canon to me, Project Singed, to be released at a later date. But he's broken out by Fiora. On their way out, they're attacked by Zed, and Lucian appears to protect them. There's a sweet fight between the 3 of them against Zed. It's awesome, but the trio end up winning because of, I don't know, Deus Ex Machina Master Yi abilities.
Just like League.
The Alpha strikes too hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get to see a lot of like the Master Yi mind fragmentation in this one, which is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also a little bit of like the, close to Ascension shit too, because a lot of the fragmentation that he's seeing too is like, it's not all nonsense, like he's kind of giving a heads up to very real dangers in the environment around him. He's just not seeing them necessarily for what they really are. And then we have the Project Hunters teaser, which probably came about at the same time as that short story, if I had to guess, because it features Vi, Vayne, and Jin. Mm-hmm. the teaser is actually not the whole thing. It's just like a corrupted video with like a sneak preview of Vane's speech that she's going to give in the Hunt cinematic. That's pretty much it. And then in the Hunt cinematic, this has the showdown between Vi, Vane, and Jin. It ends before the actual showdown begins, but it's got a voiceover, which I wrote the script for here.
Sure.
No matter how far we go, we end up here. The beast, raging beneath the framework, snapping at the cage. One instinct, one command, hunt. No matter how far we go, we return. She says that speech over the course of a minute and a half cinematic.
It takes a while.
As someone as they're all slow motion pulling their weapons.
I definitely couldn't piece it together at all. You just forget the last line before the next one.
That's why I had to write it down. Finally, I say finally, this is the fourth one. We've got another three. We've got outsiders. Pike, Jinx, Akali, and Aurelia begin their assault against the machines and the city. We don't see a ton here. We kind of just see a bunch of robots, presumably Mordekaiser's robots that have been taken over, attacking them, and we see Pike, and then everyone else in I don't know, some ultra red. That's not the what's the red vision? Jesus Christ, heat vision kind of goggle type. Infrared. Jesus, ultra red.
Super duper red.
So drunk. Then we've got Project 2019 teaser, where there's a bunch of fighting happening outside a big blast door, and a big slice gets carved into it. Who's behind the door? Nobody knows, but it's Warwick. Warwick's behind the door.
Thank you for confirming.
Yeah, I got you. And finally, we have Reckoning. So this is a cinematic where the outsiders free Warwick, and he goes on a killing rampage. Now, this one is kind of cinematic interspersed with actual gameplay. So we see Katarina and Ash working together, fighting against Aurelia. So, is a double agent for genetic. Aurelia does beat them, but then gets killed by Warwick. Pike finds the body. Then we see Jinx beat Lucian and Leona in a 2v1, which, fucking way to go, Jinx.
Right, Jesus.
But then she gets killed by Warwick. Pike finds the body. Finally, we see Vane and Vi in a 2v1 against Akali, and they lose until Warwick shows up to kill Akali. But Pike manages to pull him away just in time and then beats him in a 1v1.
Nice.
Yeah. So, way to go, Pike. You got one of them.
Too little, too late, buddy. This is so many fun facts.
I have a few fun facts.
You have 20 fun facts.
I'm a fun guy.
It's a fun...
So the concept of Project Yi was the brainchild of Marco Wendigo Silva, an artist from Sao Paulo Riot Games office, nicknamed Cyber Yi. Its thematic was later incorporated into the Project skin line during Project Yasuo's development. The idea behind Project was a fusion of one's supernatural essence with advanced weaponry and body augmentation, and the linking of technology and energy allows extraordinary hosts to channel their essence into physical manifestations and, in rare cases, transcend the corporeal plane. Only subjects possessing extremely focused inner essence and exceptional physical attributes can unlock the true power of Project. Which, to date, no one that we know of. Some people have edged it, but Project Overdrive, the cinematic, was done in collaboration with Ben Haban, who also worked on Infinity Blades 3 Origins, Devil May Cry, and The Tale of Three Brothers from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the movie.
Neat.
Project initiatives have barcodes on their head, similar to Agent 47 from the Hitman series. Project Ash's drone is named Avarosa.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's fun.
A silhouette similar to Battlecast Vel'Koz can be seen in the background of Project Katarina's splash art. It later appears in the Project Camille splash art too. However, Riot insists that both of them are not Vel'Koz. This does seem just like a retcon as a result of them deciding after the fact that they did not want Mecha and Project Universes connected. Unfortunately, they made this decision after giving Camille a voice line towards Mecha Scion, so whoops on that one.
Yeah.
Project Camille, I don't know why I wrote that one down. All right, so compared to all the Project skins, Project Yasuo is the only one who does not have robotic any robotic features on his face when he's unmasked. Nor does he retain his robotic voice filter underneath the mask. So yeah, there's that. Project Yasuo is also the only skin out of the non-legendary skins to have more than one extra set of animation changes. So he has different basic attack animations and recall animations. All the other skins just have new recall animations. So you're getting your value with the Yasuo skin, folks. Drop the dollars here.
John, they're not paying us. You can't.
Yet. We do enough of these unpaid advertisements. And,
yeah, we're really nice to Riot in these.
When it calls for it.
Project Kali?
I'm skipping a few ahead here. Because I've talked about a few of them already. The last fun fact. Silverfang Akali might actually be part of the Project universe, as essentially that might be what Project Akali looks like before her augmentation, because there is a Project Command Line logo visible on the back of her shirt in Silverfang Akali Splash. And she shares color and texture similarities with Project Lucian. So
interesting.
Maybe she's a sentinel.
Maybe she's a sentinel.
Extend it out. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the fun facts I got.
All right.
We good? We feel like we did it? Did we talk about Project?
So, yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
I feel like I think we did a way better job consolidating the universe into easy to understand things than Riot has done.
That's true. A little mishy-mashy. A little all over the place.
Yeah. I think this could be a very, very solid AU. I think it needs a little bit of love. I know they're prone to do cinematics for it because it's just, as an environment, it just looks fucking cool.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with Cyberpunk, right? But yeah, I think it needs some stories. Give us some stories, or some more story-based cinematics even would be fine. Let us give us some reason to care about the 95% of the people in this AU that
really hate Project.
Well, I was gonna say that just like don't have any compelling lore necessarily, that are just like, this person is also part of Project.
Or just like anchor the state of the world a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that was Project. Thank you so much for listening. We have a Twitch, twitch.tv/loreheads. John streams there on Saturdays. He does TFT and ARAMs with viewers. Saturday evenings, EST, usually around 6:30, 7 p.m. We have a YouTube if you want to see our lovely, wonderful faces. And hear some song parodies that John does. You can check out our YouTube. We also have a Discord. Want to find some people to play League with, post some funny memes, talk shit about us, join the Discord. And we have a Patreon. Thank you so much for all of our patrons.
But a very special thank you to our Medarda tier patrons, King of Hearts and Mr. Dead. If you were just a central cop, I would give you all the upgrades you'd need, and I'd make sure that they were fully wiped and uncorruptible by the Mordekaiser.
Damn, that's a big promise.
It is a big
Right?
promise, but I'm that guy.
You are.
Apparently a huge pain in the ass to clean those things properly.
It is a pain. There's a lot of soul juice left there that you gotta drain.
Yeah, toothbrush.
Squeeze it
Fine
out of the
corners.
cube.
Squeeze it out like a pimple. Well, please be sure to join us next week. We're going to do our first real look into a specific region, and we're going to start with Noxus.